Alright, so we went over a video on the basic premise of Aikido and what kind of situations it plays out in. We did an attack on, or a video on some of the attacks, which were the Do-Dori and Te-Dori and why they exist in Aikido. So now let's look at the common strikes you see in Aikido and why those common strikes are maybe different than what you might expect and why you might even think those strikes are pretty stupid. But I'm going to tell you pretty quick that they're actually super functional. So in Aikido we classically have 3 strikes. We have what's known as a Shomen strike. That looks like this. Okay, there are 3 variations of Shomen. 1 is hand coming down from the front hand. 2 is hand coming down back hand. 3 is hand coming up forward hand. Those are all called Shomen. Then we have Yokomen. Yokomen is back hand coming across, hitting to the side of the head, or front hand coming across to the side of the head, and that's a Yokomenuchi. And then last we have Ski, which is driving through just like this. Now when you see those, you might think they look really dumb. I remember having a problem with them when I first started studying Aikido. I was like, well, maybe that's some old way people fought, but people don't fight like that now, so I don't know why we have those. So the first thing to understand is these are weapon-oriented strikes. So for example, if Josh and I were in the kitchen and I'm making a beautiful omelet, and Josh doesn't like my omelet, he insults me and I'm mad about it, right? I'm likely to take that frying pan and smash him on the head just like this. Now that's our Shomenuchi strike. If we're in a flower shop and I've made a beautiful arrangement of flowers and Josh comes in and insults it and I get furious, I might pick up my vase and smash him on top of the head like that. If we're on the beach and Josh and I get in a fight and I grab a rock, I would very likely smash Josh in the side of the face like this with a rock, right? If I had a knife in my hand and this guy got a little mouthy, maybe I'm going to attack him bang with the backhand here like this. So you can see these strikes that a second ago looked really stupid. When we put something in your hand, they're very natural. Those are very common strikes that exist. So Shomen and Yokomen come from that basic idea of picking something up at hand and smashing this guy over the head. The Ski. So when we look at the Ski and why the Ski exists, we have to start to remember the important distancing in Aikido. We have to understand our Ma'ai. So remember, in Aikido, we never want to be here with this guy, right? This is dangerous to be this close to someone. He can make an action before I have a chance to react to it. So our minimum safety distance is out here. This is our minimum safety distance. Now from this minimum safety distance, I can't make clever little cuts. You can see, I have to take a step in to make clever little cuts. So if I take a step in, Josh's answer is simply always to back out of that clever little cutting range. Now, if I go into a defensive position, Josh should never enter into this defensive position if he can help it, because he's going to get in a bad way. So remember, Josh is going to be on the outside. Now, if I'm getting frustrated, right, I'm trying to track this guy down. So we're here, and I'm trying to get him, and he's making distance. It's very likely that from here, I'm going to lunge out to try and get him with a big movement. That's where the idea of Ski comes in, is being in a defensive position and trying to make a large leaping attack. So if Josh is always keeping his distance, his idea isn't to get me, then that large leaping distance is what's going to set up this Ski action. All right, now that we're understanding the distance, we can understand why also we wouldn't have common strikes. So what are common strikes for today? Well, maybe you think it's a big jab, or a cross, or some kind of uppercut or hook. These maybe seem like reasonable strikes. Or a big round kick might be something that happens. Or even a front push kick or something like this. If you study, karate, maybe a side kick is what you're thinking about. These are common strikes today. For our context, they don't work out. The reason is Josh is always going to make distance. So in order to throw any of those, I have to set myself, right? So if you look at a common boxer, modern boxer sets themselves in a stance. Now the reason they do this is because they're getting in position to make power. If Josh wants to box me back, so if we're in a tournament and we're trying to box each other back, he's going to stand there because he's trying to throw the same kind of shots I'm trying to throw. This makes us equal. This means that I can get to my distance and throw a powerful shot, ideally where I want to. Hopefully he's going to want to push the exchange and I'm better close up and I'll do really well. In Aikido though, he always wants to make distance. So for example, if I'm trying to set my stance, Josh will just make more distance, right? So that means I've got to track him down. I'll start to walk and then when I reset, he'll make more distance. So before you know it, he's very far away from me. In Aikido, we're never going to allow someone to set in position and stand in front of them. If they set into position, we immediately move away. That means he can't be in his comfortable boxing stance. Also means throwing a kick is very, very difficult. Now maybe some fancy flying, spinning kick or something may have a chance of being thrown. Someone practices running a lot and throwing it. But in general, that's going to be a one-off, a big lunging shot, and he's not going to stand there while I try and round kick him. The reason is he's not trying to hit me back. In this, Josh is always just trying to be free. He's never trying to exchange blows with me or prove that he's more clever or more skilled than me in that range. In Aikido, we always assume they're better, they're stronger, they're faster, all those things than us, so that stuff's not going to work out. So Josh is making distance, which means I'm limited to large lunging strikes when we do that. Okay, so when we're starting to talk about the strikes that you see in Aikido, they're common strikes if someone had a weapon and they're just smashing you. They're never trained strikes like boxers or kickboxers or something will throw, because we're not going to allow the distance for that to happen. Now, that's not to say that we couldn't ever get in those ranges. Maybe we could, but the answer to that is actually study boxing or kickboxing if you want to be good at those things. If you want to do the Aikido thing, then what you want to do is never get in that range and never let them set those up. The only way they're going to come in for a strike is to lunge in. So, speaking of lunging in, what will we do when they lunge in? Check that out on the next video.